I smell a gamer. Let me tell you some meat and slime and goo and grime. Hello?
This is Peanut, the level 63 human warlock.
Hi, how are you?
Hold up.
¡Chingada madre!
Wait, I got it. Oh crap, that made me drunk as You're muted, I can't hear anything. There's a flying skelly, I can't shoot. I'm dead. Are you looking at my genitals? What are you doing? Hey, I forget which camera I'm using. That one. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another YouTube video. I want to do a little bit of a different kind of video today. This might be something I continue with on this channel, actually. So I want to talk about something I've noticed lately in terms of the gaming world. Something that I'm actually quite thrilled about. And that is the fact that games are becoming a lot more popular. There are a lot more looter shooter type games being developed now, which is very exciting. I think these are the future of online multiplayer games. Nothing quite gives you that adrenaline rush. You know what I mean? That Well, let me back up for a second. For those who might not be aware, a looter shooter is basically an instance-based multiplayer PvP situation, usually consisting of PvE and PvP, where players go in, fight with the AI enemies, and with the actual human player enemies, to acquire the most loot possible, to advance the progression of the game or their character. And if they're able to extract with that loot alive, they get to keep it. And basically, if you kill another AI or another player, you can take whatever they have and add it to your little collection until you have a little goblin rat's nest filled with all of your little treasures and trinkets and shinies, you know, whatever you want. The reason that these games are so good, in my opinion, is that they require you to put so much on the line. Obviously, to increase your chances of survival in raid, you equip your best items that you're able to accrue through the grueling fill and exfil of a raid, and you put it all on the line every time you go in there. If you use it, there's a chance you might lose it, and that's a scary prospect. Knowing that you can lose whatever you have on your person at any second, whether you bring it into a raid with you or you acquire it as you go through the raid, you can lose it like that. And then someone else gets to take that, as well as the tears from your eyes when you're crying from the fact that they killed you, and just scurry away with it. And they get to have it, and you don't. And it's tragic and sad, but my favorite part about playing these games is the tears. Those are the best. That's the best loop. Just that gameplay loop alone is extremely fun and engaging and exciting. But when you add on top of that the fact that the loot you do acquire is used to complete tasks or quests, or used to upgrade your character in some way, or be able to be sold in order to buy better equipment to increase your chances of survival when you go into the raid situation. Whatever it is, it's used for the advancement and progression of your character or your status in the game itself. So you are more likely to absolutely dumpster, shit on, decimate, destroy, upset, ruin financially your enemies, which is it's great. I love that. It's the same concept of like an MMO RPG. These games have a lot of elements similar to that, which is amazing. It's the same concept as, like, you know, getting a new sword in World of Warcraft. When you get that sword, your character is instantly more able to kill shit. You know, it's exciting. It feels great. It's that dopamine drip that we all desire, chasing that gaming dragon. It's like drug stuff, you know, that normal people do. Like people who like go outside or whatever, they do drugs. We get new swords in World of Warcraft, and you know what? I'd rather have the sword. But these games are no different, except the thing is, it's more exciting, because in games like World of Warcraft, when you get killed by someone else, they can't take your sword. But in these games, they can. And if you kill someone else, you get that sword. And then you use the sword. And it's a constant exchange of loot. And it's so thrilling, so exciting. But this concept, the fleeting loot situation, the kill another player, take what they have, that did not start with looter shooters. That is an old concept. But let me elaborate on that. I think a game called Asheron's Call, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even old school RuneScape, had these more hardcore style looting experiences where you got to kill a player and take the equipment that they had. Exciting stuff, thrilling. You work to acquire certain pieces of gear or loot, and then you enter into a combat situation and you're putting it all on the line when you're fighting with it. Well, your loot and gear combined with your gameplay skill outperform your enemies. The gear might give you an edge. It still comes down to skill. And that's kind of the basis of a lot of these looter shooter games. It's an interesting format. It's like the best parts of a lot of different game genres put together. This brings me to the next genre that has contributed to the development of the modern looter shooter. Games like Rust or DayZ. These are games without the traditional MMO type of environment. These are more of a sandbox experience with that same looting concept, which to me, a few years ago was the ultimate gaming experience, and arguably still is, because those games, as you know, you're just dropped in a world and left to your own devices, and it's just like a big fucked up social experiment. Like, you can kill other people or be killed or not, or befriend someone. It's just whatever happens. I mean, that being said, metas develop, and then all of a sudden everybody's just killing you on sight anyway, and then followed up with really fucked up hate speech and horrible things that people say. Not to point any fingers, Rust, but it is what it is. Rust used to be so charming, but now it kind of sucks. But anyways, games like Rust, DayZ, you kill another player, you strip them of all their gear, you wear their gear, you use that gear to kill more players or get more loot, or protect yourself while raiding another player's base, etc., etc. But the problem with this is a very fast loop. Like Rust, for example, is a normal wipe is only about a week long, and it's all about just getting the most loot possible. It's more based on instant gratification rather than the journey, if you will. And in games like this, it's kind of like a you're never safe situation. It's more of like a full-time experience. Like in Rust, if you log off, for example, your character's still there. Your base is still there. People can take that from you at any moment. Like, playing Rust is like a full-time job almost. You know what I mean? DayZ's a little bit better in this way, as your character just kind of poof, disappears when you go offline, but your stuff, if you have a base, is still there. You need people around to watch your base and stuff, because people want that loot. They do. That's just how it is. But these games are fantastic. I remember when I discovered Rust back in like 2013 or whatever it was, I was obsessed. I remember nervously sitting in just a wooden shack that I built with like a water pipe shotgun, and I was so terrified. I had never felt my adrenaline pump so hard playing a game like that. I was hooked. And as you all know, I did a lot of content on Rust. It was my favorite game for the longest time, and I thought it was the greatest game ever. Rust, DayZ, things like that couldn't beat that experience until I found the looter shooter. In my case, Escape from Tarkov, which arguably paved the way for a lot of looter shooters that are coming out today, which is very exciting because I love the genre. I think it could be the future of like multiplayer gaming online, because it has all these elements from different genres baked into it to form like a Frankenstein of the best aspects of different types of games all in one. So you've got that hardcore element from games like Rust and DayZ, as we discussed. You've got that MMO element from like World of Warcraft, RuneScape, Asheron's Call, whatever it is. There's tons of those in terms of fighting the PvE with bosses and dungeons and collecting gear that way, as well as, you know, completing quests or tasks to acquire more loot or status or progression in the game. And then there's another aspect baked into it as well, which makes it a nice little digestible gameplay loop. This is the key. The way that these games are digested by the player, the actual gameplay loop, if you will. This is all over the place. I'm so sorry. The Battle Royale element, the Fortnite element, the PUBG element, the 2018 every single goddamn game release element, Battle Royale shoved down our throats ad nauseum element. They got a little Battle Royale in there. They do. You go in there with a certain amount of players and you all go in and enter a raid situation, which is very reminiscent of, you know, flying in there on that big fat battle bus in the sky, except there's no battle bus, but there could be. You go into the raid. It's a timed situation and you're expected to fight with these other players. However, you're not fighting with them to be the last one standing. That's not what you're after. You're after acquiring as much loot as humanly possible, and then you're expected to extract from the situation alive with the loot. And you're incentivized to fight with other players, not to just defeat them, although that's fun, but also to take whatever they have acquired during the raid and eliminate the opposition so you can loot the raid, or whatever you want to call it, uninterrupted. I know most of you guys understand the concept of a looter shooter, but I'm just getting my thoughts out here on paper. You know, we're analyzing the game here. This is an analytical piece, all right? You know, it drives me nuts when people say Tarkov is like just an FPS game. It's really not. What it is a looter shooter, Escape from Tarkov. It defined its own genre, basically, and all these games are following. That being said, the looter shooter concept to me is most reminiscent of an MMO. Much like an MMO, you start with really rudimentary gear in these games, you know, really baseline stuff, and the whole fun is advancing yourself, giving yourself the opportunity and ability to acquire that high-end gear that ensures your ability to absolutely dumpster, destroy, decimate. I won't get into that again. When you are challenged in your journey to acquire these things, when you put in the time, the work, the reward is just so much sweeter. And when you're required to put it all on the line, like you are in these games, I'm talking about Escape from Tarkov, The Cycle, Dark and Darker, Marauders, games like Marauders, you know, and that one actually incorporated the whole like vehicle and space element and the breaching. I love that shit. We've got Call of Duty DMZ coming out as well. When you get to that end point, when you put in the work and the time, it truly is the journey, you know, in these games, not just the instant gratification. Based on what I've seen in the new Call of Duty DMZ, I could be wrong, and hopefully I am. The problem with Call of Duty is it doesn't have that level of jank in it. When you're starting out in these games, you almost need that jankiness because the combat needs to be like difficult, you know, so that when you do progress and acquire that better gear, those better items or whatever, end game, you minimize the jank, you know, through the development of your character or the gear you have. And that's my concern with Call of Duty. The gameplay in Call of Duty, it's too fluid, it's too quick, it's too fast, it's too user-friendly, if you will. I'm worried that your character is too able, too strong, too capable right out the gate to incentivize you to do all these tasks and progression, etc., in order to defeat the other players. I actually have a full video discussing this on my second channel when I first watched some gameplay, you know, the first look at it. If you want more of my opinion about that, yeah, we don't have time for that in this video. But it's great to see more of these games developing. It's exciting. I've loved every single game of this genre to come out, and it's really cool and exciting to see it expand beyond FPS, like in Dark and Darker. This game has even more of that MMO feel because it's swords, shields, magic, daggers. You've got your wizards, your rangers, your rogues, your warriors, barbarians. It's the classic fantasy type of setup, you know, much like Dungeons and Dragons, like you know, the D&D show, Critical Whole, that we are putting out on YouTube and Spotify if you want to listen to it. It's really good. I think you guys will like it if you like D&D, but that's neither here nor there. I love Dark and Darker. I love all that fantasy shit and magic and crap. I like being an old crusty wizard and shooting fireballs at people. I like being a little freak rogue who like stabs people really quick, like a prison shanking, hiding in like an invisible little freak. I like being 3 rangers hiding up in the ceiling, pelting our enemies with arrows without them even seeing that we're there.
He's right under me. He's right under me.
Okay.
They're both right under me. They're coming. They're coming down the stairs.
He did this.
He's trapped.
I hit him. Let's go!
Go the other one.
I got him.
I'm just seeing the disappointed look on their faces as they look up at us as we rain down arrows on them and then collect their loot, their tears, and their will to continue playing the game. That's what it's all about. That's what the looter shooter's all about, because that gear matters. What we're taking from them matters. Matters for the progression. It matters for your gameplay. It matters for everything. That's it. These games are great. I'm done talking about this now. You all knew all this already, but you know what? You're gonna hear it from me again. The looter shooter genre is basically an amalgamation of the best elements of other tried and true gameplay loops or game genres. It's just a really nice, digestible balance of all of them put together. And god damn it, I love to see more games like this coming out. And to everyone out there who says, wah, just a Tarkov ripoff, wah, 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 wah. Grow up, you know? Don't you want other stuff to play? Don't you want new games in this genre to enjoy? You don't want a monopoly in anything, ever. And there's no denying that Escape from Tarkov is a pioneer. It's an incredible game with incredible developers, and they defined this genre of gaming, in my opinion. But now that they have, and now that other games like this are coming out, I'm gonna damn well enjoy them. You can't only play one game forever, and competition is good.